the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
I've been preparing for this all my life.
Here's Porter on hard and taking him to school.
What a great play by Jae'Sean Tate.
K.J. Martin climbed Bobon Mountain.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
And you've seen tonight that we fought together, we stayed together, and it's about damn time, man.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham absolutely living up to the hype. Rockets versus Pistons. We got you covered for all that and more. What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and partner at Apollo Media. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, as well as at Apollo HOU. And joining us today to break down all the action across the Rockets Pistons game, as well as might dip a little bit back into what happened with Rockets Cavs, is the Athletics' Alykhan Bijani. What's up, Alykhan?
What's up, Jackson? Hi, everybody.
All right. So just Alykhan, immediate thoughts on this one. I mean, we're coming into this game and we've got this marquee matchup build between the number 1 overall pick, Cade Cunningham, the number 2 overall pick, Jalen Green. And frankly, when you come away from the game, I think Jalen Green had the better performance. What do you think?
Why do you say that, Jackson? I'm curious.
Because I feel like there were moments throughout the game, and specifically there was one moment that really stood out to me, but there were moments throughout the game where it felt like Jalen Green was doing his best to play the right way, play team basketball, winning basketball. He wasn't just going out there trying to get his. And the moment that stands out to me is there was a point where he reached trying to steal the ball from Cade Cunningham. Cade, pulled the ball back, very silky smooth crossover, pulled up, drained a 3, right? Snatched Jalen's ankles right out from under him. And then Jalen comes back down on the opposite end. And instead of just trying to force something to happen, trying to get his against Cade, he opted to run a pick and roll, get the pass into KJ Martin, and KJ Martin goes up for an easy 2 in the paint. And it was that read, right, that moment where Jalen could have easily, right, taken that personal and I'm going to go right back at Cade. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to, cross him up. I'm going to drive on him, something like that. But instead, he ran a good pick and roll, got an easy bucket for his teammate. And it really felt like that was his mentality all throughout the game. And Coach Will Weaver even thought so after the game.
Yeah, what's interesting is before the game, the Rockets coaches spoke with the players and were like, the crowd is going to amp this up. They're going to make this about whoever gets the ball first, Cade or Jalen. The crowd's going to be amped up, obviously. And just make sure you stay within your game. Don't get too excited about what's going on. Play team basketball. And I think for the most part, both those guys play team basketball. Now, if you were to ask me who had the better performance, I would have to say Cade. Now, I don't think it's necessarily too – oh, no, here comes the eyes. I don't think there's that big of a difference. I think both had an exceptional game. But just for me, watching Cade, the way he's able to really control, especially when he has the ball in his hands, really just control the style of play and kind of control his team's identity. I think he did a great job yesterday. Jalen as well. Jalen played off his teammates extremely well. And I think a lot of people want to see him run pick and roll. I think this is the best time for him to run pick and roll, get more reps in that way, and just to get more film before the regular season, preseason, whatever the case may be. But the fact that he's playing off of his teammates, his last point yesterday, the one everybody's hyping up about where he hit the 3 over Cade Cunningham and kind of let out a scream, that was based off of him being in the opposite corner and spacing well for his teammate Anthony Lamb, who was posting up and drawing in the defense. He's shown me a lot of progress there where he's been able to play off of others, and excited to see how that translates when he does play alongside Kevin Porter Jr., John Wall. Those types of skills are going to be very important to his success, especially early in his career.
I found it so interesting that Detroit decided. So first off, before Detroit started to blitz Jalen Green and start throwing those double teams at him, I found it interesting that both Jalen and Cade were checking each other to start the game. And I kind of talked a little bit about that coming into the game in our preview episode, just thinking about, how vocal Jalen Green has been about wanting to be a good defender, wanting to, make that such an important part of his game, wanting to be a two-way guy. And so I thought, well, looking at the likely starting lineup that the Rockets and Pistons are both going to trot out, it kind of makes some sense that Green and Cade would check each other for at least a little bit. So I thought that was interesting that he started checking him at the start of the game. And then on top of that, those double teams, right? And, it was kind of ridiculous to see those double teams being thrown at Jalen Green in a summer league game, very reminiscent of some of the double teams that we've seen thrown at one James Harden throughout the NBA regular season. And the intensity of them, right? I mean, we're talking hard doubles, right at the half court margin, pushing him out, really trying to force the ball out of his hands. And Jalen actually spoke a little bit about that after the game.
I'm out thinking it was going to be like a last night's game, but instead I got blitzed and I had to adjust to that. So it was a different adjustment for me. But yeah, I still wanted that battle.
Really kind of felt like as the game progressed, the Rockets' approach kind of changed. And as you illustrated, and as you kind of already pointed out, they really moved to utilizing Jalen more so off ball as the game progressed to prevent those double teams from happening.
Yeah, Jackson, we talked about this with Jalen Green in our Jalen Green scouting report episode in July. The big thing for me, and I think where he's going to excel out in this Rockets offense, and I think I've been proven right the first two games, is dribble handoffs, where these give and goes, where he's more so just getting the ball from a big and attacking downhill. The main reason that was successful, and he alluded to it yesterday post game, was because when he's getting blitzed and he's coming down and they're doubling him in pick and roll early, it's difficult. This is a team that likes to play fast, and he even admitted he was playing a little bit too fast yesterday, and he was turning over the ball because of that. So whenever he's off the ball and he's coming off of a dribble handoff, he can make a read based off of how the player behind him or in front of him or on his hip is defending him. If they're going to stay back, or they're jumping that thing, he can, reject the screen and kind of go this way, which we had that give and go with KJ Martin early on in the game where he kind of slithered through the defense, got skinny, and got towards the rim, kind of found that crevice in the lane. Whenever they actually run a dribble handoff and they're overplaying his hip and the defender's kind of overplaying that three-pointer, he can go back and hit the step back. So he has all these different things, and I think getting him the ball where he's on the move forces that big to make a decision, which then forces that defender who's been trailing him to make a decision as well. And that's when he's at his best, when he's able to use his athleticism and his ability to create space to his advantage. When a team likes to run pick and roll early and you blitz them early on, that's a big reason why those types of blitzes can push the ball handler further and further away from the three-point line, because teams like to run those high pick and rolls, especially for Jalen Green. The Rockets like those high pick and rolls, those angle pick and rolls, just because they're able to really attack the middle or the right side of the floor with the dribble, because Jalen Green's much better on the right. One thing, and I want to give credit to Polar Fall on Twitter, somebody who I really enjoy following. He brought this up yesterday. The concept of the defense, one of the defensive schemes that the Pistons were using was ice coverage or weak. And just for those listening and those watching, what weak coverage essentially is that you're going to force the ball handler to go towards the side of the floor where that's his weak hand. So in this case, Jalen Green's a right-handed player. They're going to force him to go left. And when you're in a position like Jalen Green and you're going left, it's not as comfortable for you. And you saw that multiple times yesterday where they were kind of playing up high, number one. So the big was there to meet him once he was driving left. And then the defender was trying to, pushing him further and further towards the sideline, further towards going left on the side of the floor. And what that does is that puts him in a very uncomfortable situation. What is he going to do? He has to be able to pass with two hands. He has to be able to kind of drive and get past the defender. And there were a few times last night where he had a pull-up jumper or he made a bad decision whenever they especially blitzed him whenever he was going left. So when you go back and watch the game, Rockets fans, pay attention to when they're blitzing and pay attention to when they're running that weak coverage. And you'll start to see kind of how they were, really attacking some of his potential weaknesses right now, and how I think ultimately, I know people were complaining about why are they blitzing. We were here to see Jalen Green versus Cade Cunningham. Ultimately, this is going to be great film for him to understand what are the types of things defenses, NBA defenses, are going to throw your way, and what he can continue to do from now to training camp and during the season to get better.
Got so much more to talk about from this one. Alperen Sengun, Josh Christopher, KJ Martin, who had a quietly impressive game as well on the defensive end. Just an overall really solid game from KJ Martin. I want to talk about all of that coming up in just a moment after a message from our friends over at Headspace. Because Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So whatever the situation, Headspace can really help you feel better. Maybe you're overwhelmed. Headspace has a 3-minute SOS meditation just for you. Need some help falling asleep? Headspace has wind down sessions that their members swear by. And for parents, Headspace even has morning meditations that you can do with your kids. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/lockedonnba. That's headspace.com/lockedonnba for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now, so head to headspace.com/lockedonnba today. And another message from our friends over at Built Bar, because look, if you've never had a protein bar that you've actually enjoyed, you got to check out Built Bar. Every single bar they make basically tastes like a candy bar that's jam-packed with protein. They've got so many great flavors to choose from: raspberry, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, my personal favorite, coconut brownie chunk. Cannot go wrong with a single bar on their menu. Every single bar, low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Great if you're on a keto diet. Great if you're trying to lose weight. And you can check it out. Just visit BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your very next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Of course, joined by the Athletics' Alykhan Bijani. Now, Alykhan, do you want to go? Who do you want to talk about in this segment? Do you want to talk about Sengun? Do you want to talk about KJ Martin? Or do you want to talk about Josh Christopher?
There's a lot of good options there. How about
I know, right?
How about we talk about Sengun? He had a great game yesterday.
I've been so thoroughly impressed. Right, he was billed as a guy whose question marks were going to be defensively, and so far, I think his defense has been more impressive than his offense in these first 2 games in Summer League. And one of the areas that really stands out to me, and I pulled this clip and threw it up on my Twitter feed during the game, so go check it out if you haven't seen it yet, but his ability to stay vertical when he's contesting shots. He keeps his arms straight up and down, does not bring the arms down, does such a great job of controlling his body when he jumps. Now, there have been a couple times where he's jumped like for a rebound or for a contest, and I'm going to be honest, he doesn't get that much air. He's not crazy athletic. He's not getting that high up, but he's 6'9", maybe 6'10", and he does an excellent job of contesting and timing his jumps and his contests, which is why he's walked away with 4 blocks in each of the first two games, which is just insane.
For me, besides the defensive scheme stuff, what I've been actually impressed with the most is I believe he had 8 rebounds yesterday, right, Jackson?
Yes, 8 rebounds, 15 in the first game.
15, yeah. His defensive rebound, I know we're going to talk about his offensive rebounding. He's doing a great job there, but defensive rebounding I've been really impressed with. And the reason why is because he knows how to get his butt into the defender and push them out the paint. Basically get to his spot, making sure that he uses his body to box out and get the rebound. He's not high tipping it because, like you said, it's a little bit tougher for him to do that. He's not high tipping it. He's not trying to use his size or whatever. He's trying to use his body to, push away somebody else and either himself get the rebound or have KJ Martin or somebody else get it as well. And I think that you said that especially early on in the game yesterday where he was boxing out their bigs, and then Jalen Green had those 3 early rebounds in the first quarter. And that's been very impressive to me. Offensively, though, he's very interesting. I think obviously everybody's like, oh my God, he can shoot the ball after he hit that 30-footer yesterday from the logo. But, for me, I'm most impressed with his screening ability. What do you think?
I've been, as far as what's really stood out to me, the screening has been one thing, but I want to let you elaborate on that part because I've been more so focused on his patience and footwork when he does get the ball down low, which it felt like he got a few more opportunities in this one to have his more traditional post up offense and kind of either have opportunities to create for himself or create for his teammates, with his back to the basket, the way that he has, been accustomed to playing. But I want to let you elaborate on the screening, element that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah. So when it comes to screening, people are like, well, this is interesting the way you say it, but he looks like Daniel Tice in some situations in that, he's like shielding the lane. Like he's shielding the defender, creating a driving lane for his teammates. It's very interesting. Like if you go back and watch yesterday's game in particular, watch when Jalen Green is running pick and roll. And I know the games aren't really posted in some situations, or if you have League Pass, maybe you can watch it. Wherever you watch it, YouTube highlights, whatever, watch when Jalen Green is running pick and roll. And look at whenever he's running pick and roll with Sengun, what he's doing. He's, rolling and trying to get a hard roll, or he's slowly rolling. But most of the time, he's shielding out that lane, that driving lane. He's shielding out that paint. So Green or Christopher, whoever it is, can get an easy shot. And it's very interesting to see how good he is already. The same way I talked about him getting low for those rebounds, it's the same way he's getting low and trying to clear up that space. So it's been very interesting to see that. Now, his screen setting is effective because I think he understands what spots he needs to be in on the specific types of plays. He had that one-handed alley-oop dunk yesterday where I thought he screened really well in terms of kind of just as a hard dive, kind of after the screen and kind of just slipping and going. And then he has situations where he stays on the screen and kind of creates some space. That chemistry developed over time. I think he'll get better with that. I'm not saying he's like an elite screener or a good screener. He's getting there, but his screening ability has really impressed me so far, and that's one thing I'm really excited about because as a good screener, you can essentially also become a good dribble handoff player, which is why dribble handoffs were so effective yesterday. Combine that with his passing ability, and our friend DGC posted that nutmeg from the first game where he found Jalen Green. Stuff like that, you can combine the screening and the passing to become a good dribble handoff player. And I know Steven Silas is, really excited about the fact that, he can be somebody who can run those types of plays for him in that offense.
That's the most exciting thing for me is honestly how Steven Silas is going to utilize Sengun, potentially like operating him out of the high post a little bit with some of those dribble handoff sets, that kind of thing. And, the play that I think it was so simple, but it was my standout play for him in this one was just, he got the ball on the low block, started backing down his defender, went to his slight array of moves, kind of did a twist, did another turn on his pivot, had nothing there, and then kind of looked like he might be getting ready to settle for kind of like a fadeaway jumper. And then Jalen Green makes a cut at the exact right moment, kind of slips through the teeth of the defense and is right there at the cup. Everybody lost track of him. And Sengun's just like, oh, great. Like quick little pass right down to Green. And it wasn't anything miraculous. It was just the patience that he had to go through his set of moves to kind of, be aware of the options available to him and to then see Jalen Green right there at the rim for the easy two and not panic like, oh, I picked up my dribble. What do I do now? Let me just kick it back out, to the top of the key because I don't have anything left. He was totally calm, cool, and composed during that moment. So that really stood out to me.
Yeah. I'm eager to see how he plays in specific situations. Are they going to want him to become a 4? Are they going to want him to become a 5? What is going on with that? I think he has shown good flashes as a 5, and I'm eager to see will he get playing time as a 5, especially in training camp when training camp comes and he's actually going against better types of NBA bodies. But he's definitely shown some good flashes, and I think he's already become a fan favorite. I'm so happy, that stuff is hilarious. I think that's a great bit. Shout out to Rockets, Rocket social media and digital communications for that.
Didn't you hear I'm the Rocket social media coordinator? That's the running joke.
Wait, since when? Really?
Everybody wanted me to apply for the position, and then and everybody's convinced that because the Rockets account tweets out a lot of the same stuff I do that I'm their social media coordinator. So yeah, that's the running joke. It's all me. Just credit to me.
This is what happens when I'm old, man. I forget all of these millennial jokes.
When I'm old, get out of here. I'm older than you, man. God. And now how does that make me feel? All right. We've got Josh Christopher, we got KJ Martin, and final thoughts from this one to talk about coming up in just a moment. We're going to let Alykhan get that laugh out, but first we got a message from our friends over at betonline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. We got baseball season going strong. They've also got you covered for UFC, MMA, you name it, they've got you covered over at BetOnline. So don't sit on the sidelines anymore. It's time to get in on the action. And you can do that using promo code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Again, that's promo code Locked On for a 50% bonus on your very first deposit. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Final thoughts on the Rockets 111-91 thumping of the Detroit Pistons in Summer League. Realizing now that as much as we've talked about Jalen Green and now Sengun through these first two segments, we haven't mentioned their box score stats at all, which, I mean, I'm sure you've probably looked at them, but it's worth bringing up. Jalen Green, 25 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 5 from behind the arc, a very impressive 10 of 11 from the charity stripe, was in the 50-40-90 club for this game. Also had the 5 boards, 3 assists, had a steal, did have 4 turnovers. However, it was highlighted that he had 3 early turnovers, and then as the Rockets adjusted throughout the game to get him operating more so off ball, getting his teammates kind of creating for him a little bit, those turnovers cut down significantly, only had 1 the rest of the way after, I believe it was 3 in the first quarter, I think. Or at least 3 early. And then Sengun coming away with 21 points, 8 boards, 8 of 14 shooting, had the 1 3 from the logo, call him Sniper Sengun or whatever you want. It was very impressive. Did not expect that shot to go in, but I know from, what I've heard is that the Rockets are really working on extending his range. That's definitely a focus for him, is getting him comfortable with his shot out at the 3-point line so that they can have him as another 5-out threat within this offense. But Alykhan, we've got 2 more guys that we need to spend a little bit of time talking about here, and that is KJ Martin and Josh Christopher.
Yeah, just one last point. I'm going to tie this into KJ Martin on Sengun. Sengun is only, I think, out of the first 2 games on post-ups, he's like 1 of 5, according to Mentality, just on like shooting those post-ups. And that's only 20%, in terms of scoring probability. But when you look at points per possession, including passes, it's around 40%. And the fact of the matter is that not only, are his post-ups, leading to his shot attempts and kind of getting space, and he's kind of missed a few bunnies here, but his passing has been very impressive from the post. He's making good decisions. He's reading when the defense is coming with a hard double or late double, and he's finding that open spot. And I think that's very impressive and something else I want to highlight. And why I'm transitioning to KJ is because out of those possessions where Sengun is posting up, there's opportunities for a guy like KJ Martin who's spotting up on the wing or in the corner to knock down some threes. And just to give you some insight to kind of how well he's shooting on those catch and shoot threes, I believe he's 4 of 11 right now on spot ups. Now, people are like, that's not that good, but the fact of the matter is it's about 36% shooting from 3, at least on catch and shoot threes. So he's getting.
Are you talking just Summer League right now?
Just Summer League. Yeah,
5 of 12.
Okay, so this is from Synergy. So I'm using Synergy.
Oh, my bad. Okay, there we go. Synergy's got way more advanced stats than I do.
Well, just to kind of give some context into why I'm bringing it up, because that's one thing also that the coaching staff has been really impressed with. Will Weaver has talked about this, and you've heard this from others as well. When you ask him kind of what KJ Martin has improved upon is his shooting. He's put in a lot of work with Robbie and John Lucas, the Rockets player development staff. But the couple other areas I want to highlight: playmaking, his driving, and why his jumping has been even more impressive lately is that it's because now he's using it as a weapon. We saw, and I talked about this with you in April and May during the end of the season, where he would sometimes only need 1, maybe 2 steps and on a closeout, and he would be already at the rim. Now, why that's important is because his jumping can allow basically jumping can cause defenses to have to rotate early. And if they're rotating early, he has the ability to make that pass. And he's shown that early on, where he may not be making the pass to an assist, but he may be making that pass that leads to the assist, or making that pass that leads to the pass that leads to the assist. He's done a great job with this playmaking, especially on those roll situations. I want to see more pick and roll from him. I think they're doing that on purpose to kind of get Sengun more acclimated into how to drive and how to screen set, because KJ already has that experience. But for me, and they want to kind of see how KJ looks in the perimeter. But for me, I really, have been really impressed with his playmaking and just his ability to make reads. Defensively, he's getting there, and I think these reps are going to help him a lot defensively. But offensively, he's taken a big next step. And, I'll be eager to see how that translates over when training camp begins. Like I said, just to summarize, he has a jumping ability. What can you do once you make that defender commit? Do you go up and you go for the slam dunk and try to knock it down like he tries to do every game at least once? Or do you stay patient and know, hey, defense is rotating over. What can I put up softly, or what can I do to make the pass because they're helping on my types of hard drives or hard slashes to the rim? That's what I'm going to be looking at moving forward.
Love that he's like the grizzled veteran out there now. He's the guy with the most experience out of this whole crop of youngsters. It's hilarious to think about, but thinking about how much he's developed, from when he first came to the Rockets to where he is now, in less than a year, really, right? I mean, it's been less than a calendar year, and seeing how far he's progressed already is a testament to the work that he's put in. And the sky is really the limit for him. He's got all the tools to be a really, really good NBA player, and we're seeing some of that development really taking place. But another guy that I want to spend a little bit of time making sure we talk about is Josh Christopher, who, Alykhan, Josh Christopher continues to win me over every single day. Like, with each passing day, I come away thinking that the Rockets got an absolute steal with the 24th pick in the draft. Realistically on draft night, was a little bit, kind of questioning the pick a little bit. Oh, well, he's, besties with Jalen Green and knows KJ Martin. They go way back. Maybe it's just a culture pick, whatever you want to call it. But Josh Christopher has been thoroughly impressive. His defense has been incredible, and he is an absolute terror when he puts his head down in transition.
I'm gonna give you a stat right now that's gonna blow you away.
I love it. Let's go.
This percentage, obviously, I need to hand track it myself just to kind of confirm. Sometimes they may not track everything correctly, but out of the nine possessions, out of 9 pick and roll possessions where he's guarding the ball handler, the team, out of those positions, they've only scored 1 point. So that's like 0.1 point per point per possession. 0 of 5 shooting, caused a turnover. It's been pretty impressive.
I mean, he plays so hard defensively, and he doesn't back down, and he's got the physical tools. In his post-game presser, right, he laid it out. He was like, somebody asked him about his defense and what he brings to the table. He said that Rafael Stone, he called him Raph. He's like, Raph told me to just come in and be a Drew Holiday type, right? And he goes, I'm 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan. I weigh 215 pounds, and I'm in shape, and I work hard, right? And you saw that on display. And I think the highlight from his game, right, it was that possession where he put the absolute clamps on Cade Cunningham, right? Picked him up, 3/4 court press, pressuring him the entire, while he's walking the ball up, making life a little difficult for him, getting him out of his comfort zone. And then as soon as he crosses half court, really gets his body into him. He's in the chest of Cade, really kind of, swiping at the ball, making him uncomfortable. And it's that level of like tenacious defense that I feel like at times you either have it or you don't, right? Like there's players that just come in with that mentality, and Josh Christopher absolutely has that mentality. And it's been a great thing to see develop over these first 2 games.
When you're switching with this defense, or when you're switching in the 55 defense they run where you switch everything, or 54 when it's just primarily switching except the 1-5 pick and roll, you have to be able to get into the body of the ball handler and just kind of deny those lanes and kind of making sure that your ball pressure is appropriate. He does that to a T. He's done a great job this summer league of making sure the ball handlers feel where he is without fouling. He keeps his arms apart. He, leans his shoulder in, and he's, putting his feet in the perfect stance to make sure that no matter what happens, he's in position to stay either in front or right next to him on the hip. So he's done a fantastic job. And just in case people were confused by that set, I'm going to repeat it again because I probably didn't do a good job of saying it initially. 0.1 points per possession when he's defending the pick and roll ball handler. So that's 9 possessions Synergy has. And out of those 9 possessions, the team has only scored 1 point. Okay. Now I want to put in a caveat. Whenever you are using these types of stats, context matters. They're not the end all be all. You have to also understand what type of defense are they playing. Are they doing a switch? Are they doing a drop? Are they doing some sort of trapping or hedging? The Rockets have had some sort of hedging going on as well. It all depends on that as well. But ultimately, the reason why I want to bring up that point is because it matches the eye test what we're seeing. His ball pressure has been fantastic, and he's really showing that he can be a good defensive piece. And just think about how well he could play next to a guy like Jae'Sean Tate and Garuba whenever Garuba gets some time and gets acclimated at an NBA level. this can be a very potentially a very good defensive team in the future.
I want to talk about, I still have one other element of Josh Christopher's game I want to touch on before we wrap things up. But before we talk about that, not an ad break, but in your eyes, Alykhan, what is the best, most realistic defensive lineup that you think the Rockets could trot out this season? Like positions 1 through 5, the best defenders, but that, you're not just putting out all the best defenders, right? Because I'm not talking about throwing Nwaba, Tate, and, KJ all out there in one lineup together, right? So realistically, what do you think their best defensive lineup is?
I got to think about that. I think I'm just going to bring up some names, and we can talk about this as we get closer to the season. I want to see more from these rookies before I kind of decide. I think Eric Gordon is still probably their best perimeter defender.
Okay.
Or if you guys want to argue Jae'Sean Tate, you can say that too. But I think Eric Gordon is still, you give him his dues. He's been terrific. You have Jae'Sean Tate there, especially because of his size and ability to defend multiple positions. I think you have Tyson there right now. He's just better defender than Christian Wood. That's not a knock against Christian Wood. For picking a big, I would probably pick Tice. If I want to play small, then you probably have Jae'Sean at the 5 and go from there. John Wall, I think John is very important to what he does in terms of communicating, playing the passing lanes, kind of getting into the body of the defender. David Nwaba. Basically, at this point, a lot of the veterans. But if I'm going to pick some of the rookies to kind of keep an eye out for, Christopher has really impressed me. Garuba, even though, all it is said there about how well he's played against NBA level competition, against non-NBA level competition, how he's been the best defender. I still have to see him against these NBA guys for me to say. But as of right now, I would still go with the veterans of the roster, who I would pick in a situation where I need the best defensive guys on the floor who could also give me a bucket down the other end.
Speaking of Garuba, burying the lead a little bit, but he is set to join the Rockets after reaching a buyout agreement with Real Madrid. So that's actually really excellent news. Still TBD on whether or not he'll actually make it to any of the remaining Summer League games for the Rockets. We've got 2 more that are on the actual schedule, and then they will be playing a 5th game on either the 16th or 17th, be it the championship game or just the final 5th game, how the Summer League, schedule kind of rolls out. So that's still kind of up in the air as to whether or not he'll actually get any Summer League reps in with the team, but the ball is rolling. The process is moving along for him to join the Houston Rockets, which is exciting news to finally get him involved and, get him coalesced with the rest of the team. But last point here, Alykhan, on Josh Christopher, his playmaking in this one. The Rockets tasked him in both, the first game against the Cavs and this game with kind of being one of the 2 more so primary ball handlers to allow Jalen Green the opportunity to operate off ball. And it's been largely Kyrie Thomas's and Josh Christopher's responsibility to initiate the offense, bring the ball up the court, kind of run the show a little bit. And I thought he did a really phenomenal job kind of orchestrating things, setting up his teammates, reading the court, be it either in transition or even in the half court at times, making the right decisions. And that is kind of another area that stood out to me. He finished with the 15 points on 6 of 12 shooting, but had 7 assists. And that was really impressive to me.
For, when I look at Josh Christopher's game, that's something I did not see coming this quickly. I still don't think he's going to be that sort of dominant type of playmaker. At least the first season, it's going to take him some time to improve his dribble, improve making reads, and just being able to play better in pick and roll. He has to find his pace. He has to find his tempo. I think he has a pace and tempo, but he has to find that at an NBA level. I think the Summer League is really helping him. I think the fact that he's learning quickly too is also a good sign. But let's see what happens. I think there are possessions where he makes the pass, but he's still moving a little too fast, still moving a little too quickly, and that he has to be able to settle down. When you're running pick and roll, you're making the read. You're creating a 2-on-1 advantage where you're drawing into and you're trying to find a teammate. I think at sometimes he's trying to rush to find that advantage versus letting it create for itself with his teammates and letting them do what they need to do. That's not a bad thing. It's just the fact that he's growing into that role. And he's shown that, but he has to be able to get better. And over these next 3 games that we're going to see him, let's see that is able to happen.
And I just one more final thought to throw in here is just overall, I was thoroughly impressed with just the team ball movement of the Rockets. It really felt like they were moving the ball really well, getting it to each other. And that's kind of almost a side effect of not having a true like floor general out there, is you're going to fall into the pattern of, okay, there's not one guy kind of controlling everything. So you're going to be, naturally passing the ball around a little bit more than you normally would. We saw that just this last season in the games where John Wall would sit out and miss some time. The Rockets moved the ball a little bit more fluidly because they didn't have the safety net of John Wall to kind of just dump it off to and expect him to create something out of nothing, at the tail end of certain possessions. And you look down the entire list, 3 assists for Sengun, 4 for KJ Martin, 3 for Green, 7 for Christopher, 4 for Thomas. They had 27 assists on 39 made shots. I thought that was a really impressive stat in this game.
Yeah, and it's I think Will Weaver has done a fantastic job with the offense, kind of getting them in positions to be successful, emphasizing that, guys, like if they're going to throw different things at you, make sure that you're keeping the spacing alive. The biggest and probably the most important part about playing 5 out is that no matter what you do and whatever pick and roll action, dribble handoff action you run, you maintain the maximum spacing. If you can have that optimal spacing that exists, and you can kind of create the advantage you want, no matter how late or early in the shot clock it is. And you want to play fast. And in order to play fast, you have to get to your spots in time. And for the most part, I've seen that throughout the roster where these guys are doing a good job of that.
I forget the order that Coach Will Weaver, shared this sentiment in, but he said they're focusing a lot on, I believe it was sharing, spacing, and speed. That's not the order that he said it in, I don't think, but it's those three.
Yeah.
Okay, it's those 3 principles, and I think we saw that very much on display in this one and throughout the first 2 games of Rocket Summer League. But Alykhan, always a pleasure to have you stop by. I'm glad that it didn't take us 3 weeks this time to get you back on the show. But go ahead and let everybody know where to track you down at.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Rockets_Insider. Have some good stuff coming your way on Summer League and just beyond. Jackson and I will be doing an actual film study. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be doing some actual film study there coming up. We just wanted to get a little bit more games in, and Jackson's also, I don't know if you've told him, but you're heading to Vegas.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned it. I mentioned it once before, but yeah, I'm shipping out to Vegas Wednesday night. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'll be there for the remaining 3 games of Rocket Summer League. That's going to be all kinds of fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a correspondent there. The actual correspondent himself. So we'll get some good quotes in, and we'll put together a good film study for you guys coming next week.
Absolutely. But for today's episode, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.